official intro. Like we're live now, but I don't go like, "Hey, everybody, this is the," you know what I mean? I don't do any of that. We just kind of like start talking in the middle of it. I think you and I originally got connected through Andrew Cruzy,
Yeah.
K-Dog, right? Croze, right? As like I like to mess with him with. And you're based out of Jersey.
No, I'm actually in San Diego now. I'm from New Jersey.
Right. Like when we originally were talking, you were in Jersey and then you moved to San Diego, right?
Yep.
But your digital marketing journey didn't start in San Diego.
Like, no, I started in New Jersey for sure.
Yeah. And like way back in the day, because you and I were talking yesterday, like to pre-show this, I didn't know this. Like you dropped out of high school. I thought you dropped out of college. No, you dropped out of high school, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So when I was freshman year, I had pretty good grades, but I don't know. I didn't have a good time behaviorally and like listening to people, like having like a boss really ever. I've never, even after like that, like in like real life, trying to work in jobs, it just didn't work.
But you had like a 4.0. Like you didn't fail out because of bad grades. You failed out because like school sucks.
Yeah, pretty much. And I just knew that it wasn't, my family didn't want me to go to school. I've got an uncle, and we'll talk about that later, who's very, very wealthy, very smart. And he was always like, don't go to college. He left high school, went to work. So he's like, you need to leave high school and go to work. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess that's what's happening.
So I think that our kids are going to be the first generation that has like a culture of like, no, don't go to college. Not like have an option or go to. It'll be like, no, the default is you don't have to go to college. Like there's so many opportunities out there. Like it's a crazy world where somebody is doing like you can join Alex Becker's mastermind. It just costs money. And he's doing like $250,000 a week. He'll share everything with you. You don't have to spend 30 years at a company to climb the ranks. You can just hook up with somebody a lot smarter than you. And I think like our kids are going to just stop going to college.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to encourage my kid to go to college. They're going to have so many technical jobs, so everything's going online. It's either going to be you're working in programming or you're working in some sort of like administration for some sort of e-commerce. I mean, literally, you're never going to have to leave the house. Doctors, Yep. So what comes with that is a lot of people are going to work at home, and they're not going to need to go to college. I mean, I've got 18 people that work for me. We pay a lot of them very, very well. So I don't see that trend going down anytime soon.
And it's not like you make them go to the office. It's not like you say, what are your educational requirements, right?
Yeah. I mean, we look for motivation. We don't hire based on college or education or even experience. I mean, I look for very specific types of people that really are focused in getting a goal and they'll teach themselves, like I don't tell them how to use Zoom, they'll Google it or something,
Yep.
So those are really the traits I look for, not really education. I've hired very educated people and had them not work out.
Yep. It's the motivation, the entrepreneurial grit, like being able to move forward even when it's all shitty, right?
Exactly.
I know a little bit about your background. I know the type of people you run campaigns for, but I don't want to steal that thunder. And I don't want to unveil the curtain or pull back the curtain just yet. I want to start where you were when you dropped out of high school. You dropped out at sophomore year, right? 10th grade, is that correct?
Freshman. Yeah. Freshman.
All right. So you didn't even make it like a full 1 year in high school, right? You're like, screw this. I'm out. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And like, you don't know back then if you're smart enough, you just know it's not for you, right?
Yeah.
And so after that happened, what was like Anthony's first next step, right? Like you drop out of high school now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was kind of my start in marketing because I moved in with my uncle first off because I didn't have any, real parental supervision home. I had my mom, but my dad was in jail, so it was always like a struggle because I was always by myself learning things. So after school, I'm just like, you know what, this isn't for me. So I move in with my uncle and I start working for a big real estate company. They built golf courses and skyscrapers and the whole deal. So I start as like a marketing web developer tech. And I come in, and of course, like I'm like OCD, so I go through everything, and I'm like, all right, well, you're paying $1,000 per domain a year for like 100 domains, and you got all this fraud. So at the time, this was like, this was 13 years ago. So people didn't know better, So like, if a web company came in and they're like, here's your 100 domains or $100,000 a year, they're like, all right, whatever, big company.
Why would they even know any different?
Yeah, the internet wasn't like it is now. It was getting there, but it was still early. So I came in, I kind of self-audited all that stuff. I'm like, all right, well, here's like $1 million you're wasting with this company. And they're like, why don't you do it? I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. So I kind of took over, and I was, working with a big team of, the other person that I worked with, he was like 60, and he worked at like AT&T as a marketing director and all these different companies, and he was doing sales directing. So long story short, I wound up doing a campaign for them over about 1.5 years where we did $560 million in sales.
Okay. All right, that's a big enough number. I just pooped my pants a little bit. Okay, hold on. All right. What do you mean 500? Is that like a building that they sold? Like, what does a $500 million campaign mean, right?
Yeah. So we sold like a lot of $500,000 properties with nothing on them yet. So they're just raw properties. Golf course wasn't there. So we like sold something that didn't exist. So it was fun.
What a great marketing experience selling something that doesn't exist. Like, that's so fantastic.
You have to paint the picture, and really we had to get illustrations done. We had to get the club books from like all these other golf courses and build a custom CRM, reach out to these people. So it was complex. I mean, we did direct mail, we were doing AdWords, we did all different types of stuff. We did bulk email, so cold calling, we had a sales team going at it. So it was fun. I didn't last there very long though.
Yeah.
A year or two.
Name of the game.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding correctly, like you go in, so you leave freshman year, you move in with your uncle, and you start working at this real estate company that happens to do marketing. You're like, let's see what happens. And then pretty quickly you discover that they're being charged like $1 million a year over. And they put you on a project to see like, let's do the marketing for this like huge complex. And is that where you first discovered like tiptoeing into different types of marketing, or did you start honing in on one type that works really, really well?
My job became, here's everything we do and figure out what it is and how to manage it. And I had a little experience before then, like I was messing around with websites and WordPress and things like that. But not like this. So coming in, it was a challenge, like I had to learn a lot, try strategies. Like there wasn't all types of courses like there are now, so it was kind of like, all right, working with like these guys that have been doing this for a long time, learning.
This is like pre-WordPress, right?
WordPress was around, but it was pretty early. I mean, we're probably in like WordPress 1 or 2.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Like, so I started my Facebook ads journey 3 years ago, right? But before that, I was building websites. And I really like cut my teeth and earn my stripes with Facebook and AdWords first, right? It still blows my mind to hear stories about people like you that are selling like $500 million worth of stuff. Using direct mail, right? Bulk mail, cold calling, building like real honest connections like with wholesalers, like real estate agents and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we were doing trade shows and like retirement areas and stuff, and like inviting people for like a free dinner. So we were doing some really cool stuff,
That's crazy. And you had a team of people doing it. It wasn't just you, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I was like flying around on private jets, and I was like, 16, 17. I about lost my mind about 2 years doing that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you were there for like, let's just say 2 years or so. You have some experience with different types of marketing. You've seen a campaign work, how big companies work and all that. What did you do after you left that real estate company?
I kind of burned myself up. So, I was doing that for a while, and eventually I was like, what? I don't want to hang out with all these old guys. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to like go party. I don't want to fly around and like go to bars all the time. That I wasn't even like old enough to drink. So it became like unfun for me. because I was so young. So, after a while, I went back home and I reconnected with my old friends, and I was like doing really well. I was making a lot of money there, and I came home and it was like, all right, I'm poor again, So I'm like, all right, well, how do I figure out how to like get unpoor? And I got into drugs and doing things like that, and it probably was not a good idea. I wound up getting a handful of felonies. So
Yep.
eventually, I seen a judge, and he's like, all right, you need to decide what you're doing next time you're going to jail. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna go back to being like a person in society again.
Yep.
So I started up like a print and marketing agency, and we sold basically like a magazine where we had coupons for all these local businesses. So we'd sell them packages to advertise, and we do all the design, and then we build websites as an auxiliary and do advertising for them. So that was probably when I was 21. That was probably like 2010. And that was
those are like those coupon books, right?
Yeah. We built our own, got it published. So learning how to print a book was fun, and printed out like 50,000 of them. So we partnered with like the local grocery store, stuff like that. And, we had a few different divisions that were running, and we were doing a lot of text message back then for restaurants. So like text this number to get coupons and things like that. So really fun stuff. And I learned a lot there. I'd probably worked with like 1,000 businesses over a few years. So that was a really good start.
So how did you go from, hey, random business I've never talked to before, buy my coupon book, and then having them pay you money? Because like that's not too dissimilar from like a Facebook ads conversation, right? Like it might as well just be as foreign, you know what I mean? So like, was there like a conversation that you always had time and time again of like, hey, Mr. Johnson, sick and tired of not good results with your marketing? Like, what was that conversation like with those businesses?
I mean, we had salespeople that we hired, and that's something that we'll get into a little bit later. The conversation then was a little bit different because, like, people just were so unaware. So it was a lot of educational, and selling off results. So this is what we did for this person, and we tracked everything. Like, we tracked the coupons, we tracked their websites, we tracked their ads. Like we had specialized codes. So we had a lot of case studies that we built up from such good tracking. And again, that's something later we'll get back to. So we really sold based off the results. Like here's 3 local businesses. This is how many leads they brought in. This is how many sales they've done. This is how much money they've made.
Gotcha.
And I've always sold by results. Even now that I work with all these big names and these influencers and things like that, I still sell by results.
Yeah. I remember the first pitch that I ever sat through, and it was Facebook ads. And they were talking about how cool Facebook ads was, the benefits, the features, the videos, and nobody gave a shit because it never moved their needle.
Yep.
Right? That first pitch, which is what really inspired my pitch to be totally different, should have been based upon results, like customer opportunities, dollars, business just like yours, people just like you. So that's what you were doing to get the groundwork up and running for your coupon book. Was like going to people and saying, there's a business just like yours that got results. Do you want to talk? Right?
Exactly.
Interesting. And then after you did the coupon book, what happened then?
I did that for a few years. I got married. I had my son, and I started to realize that I wasn't in the right niche. Like I was making money. I was making probably 10, 20,000 a month back when I was like 21, 22, 23.
So and take a pause right there. Like that is such like an insanely crazy sentence to say. Like I grew up working for a living, like having a real life job, like a 9 to 5 and all that. Yeah. And to simply say like, quote, I was 21 doing $250,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
Blows my mind. Like we are in such like a crazy time that like it's normal to have that sentence in this group and in this interview series, and the people that you can hang out with, like, yeah, 20 grand a month, just got started, like no big deal. And it just blows my mind. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, go
on. After a while, I realized that, I wasn't building the company I wanted to build. like we were making money, but it just, I had all these skills that I knew that I had, like with this e-commerce stuff, and like Facebook ads was coming out, and we took a client on, we were spending like 10,000 a month and making them like 400,000 a month in the e-commerce spectrum. So I'm like, man, this is cool. I want to do more of this, because we took them from like nothing, they were doing like $1 million on Amazon. So that's not nothing, but 2 years later, they were doing like $8 or $9 million through their website, eBay, Amazon. And we would come in for Google, the whole deal up. I mean, most of that revenue was from Google Shopping. So, and throughout all this time, I learned graphic design. I learned all these different things to a functional level. I learned how to do ad buying. I ran the ad buying on that account. But I just realized that, I wanted to do bigger things. Like I wanted to work with these big e-commerce companies, and eventually that became speakers and doing events and working with software companies and so on. So I stopped doing that. I started Viox Digital, which kind of like merged from that old agency. And I did that.
Your current company, company's Launch Titans, correct?
Exactly. Viox Digital is my second agency. So I started that one. I ran that for a while and started building a lot of connections in the e-commerce and speaker space and things like that. And I worked for a lot less than I do now to really build my portfolio. And I use that portfolio to go out and sell very often. Like, hey, look at this guy we were doing 10,000 a month with, in 3 months we're doing 400,000. And how did you do that? We did it with Facebook ads, and this is how we're going to do it for you. So being able to pull those type of examples is great. But, I was kind of one man showing it because I didn't understand how to hire really talented people. And I kind of, graphic design was easy, but it was very difficult when you got into like ad buying and like all these different things. And what we realized is we'd go into a project and they wouldn't have copywriting, they wouldn't have graphics, and wanted to like go out and make the money, but they didn't have anything. So, I really started to learn how to delegate and hire people. I took some executive jobs along the way. Like I worked for a big sports company last year. You're familiar with that. And we did really, really well with them. And back in January, I left the executive job and I said, I'm going to start another agency.
Is that when we originally talked and you're split between two like full-time roles, right?
Exactly. And I was working the executive and I'm like, I want to go back and do my agency stuff. I mean, I was making great money running that website, but I wanted to do this again. So we came in strong. We launched Launch Titans in January, and within 60 days, we had 100,000 a month in retainers. I think by 3 months, you're like 121,000.
What's funny is that like when you said 100,000, for some reason, I thought it was 100,000 a year. Like I know you're way beyond that number, but like my brain said like 100K a year. I was like, I'm still happy for you, right? But it's really 1.2 million a year, right?
Yeah.
So you hit that number in 2 months, right?
Yeah.
So I know that you've got like a whole background and a whole type of experience with it, but something that stood out to me most is the way you sell, which is we took somebody from 40,000 a month to 400,000, and we did it using X, right? So let's talk about how X can move your numbers. And I remember you and I were on the phone, and this was, can I say the guy's name? It begins with an F.
Yeah.
So I remember you were on the phone, you're saying, we just finished a campaign for Frank Kern. That blew my mind. I was like, what? Like, holy crap. And my internet's freaking out right now.
I know.
Yeah, right. You can see like the pixelazing. And like, I don't know, I'm on like the right, whatever. But can you tell us what it was like pitching somebody like Frank Kern that does like 6 or even 7 figures a month, and what that conversation was like?
Again, it was results based. Like we had the results to come in at that point, and we built them up pretty quickly. But you got to remember, we've got 10 years of results too that we could fall back on. So it was really, I went to a mastermind of his. He invited me to one through a mutual connection, and I spoke on a few different topics. And he's really impressed. So I kind of said, like, you should do this with Elementor. I mean, really, you always start these type of connections by connection building.
Yeah.
And giving value to people, helping them, talking to them. If you get a connection like that, organically, which I asked a friend to basically connect me with him. You don't want to like run right in with the sales pitch. Like you want to talk to him. You want to say, hey, you can do this. This might help you make more money. And that's pretty much exactly what I did. And, when I left the executive job, I reached out to him and I said, look, I'm starting this agency up and, I think I can make you a lot more money. Nice. And he said, all right, well, let me show you what I got. And, he had another agency doing his organic social and websites. And, it was a big opportunity for us. And we did really, really well for him.
Yeah.
We've worked on Tony Robbins' UPW. We've done Robert Kiyosaki's Wealth Master events. We've worked on MMI, I think a Millionaire Mind Intensive. So there's a ton of big names. Steve Weatherford is another one. So, it all starts with one though, and that first big influencer that I went into, I remember they were like, hey, can we hire you for $3 an hour? And I was like, look, you have the wrong guy, but that's why all your websites are broken and they all have viruses. And, everything was broken, this guy. And I don't want to go into his name, but he was big, mid-size influencer and everything was broken, but he was still making like $40,000 a month, And I'm like, well, if everything is broken, I can't even navigate this website and he's making this much money. What happens when I fix it? And I had upsells and downsells and, we start running proper Facebook and Google and all these different things. So that's what we did. But I said to him, look, I want you to give me a try, but I want to take 30% of whatever we make you, if we can, I said, if we can double your company in the next 3 months. Well, we brought them from 40,000 a month to like 450,000 a month. And that was huge for us. So we had a huge case study. We made a bunch of money. So it was really, really great. I think the biggest thing is delegating though. For a long time, I always tried to do things myself, build these websites, things like that. And, I built 3 agencies, but none of them grew as fastly as the one that I have now because I really learned how to hire really properly, how to delegate, and how to build strong processes that are teachable, So we've got a very defined process for when we build web pages. It goes to the design team and the copywriting team. Then it goes to development. Then it goes to the Elementor guy. Then it goes to our ad buyer and our creative team to work on it with our videographers. So, it took me a little bit to figure out that process. But once I was able to define that and hire the right people for those roles, we can knock out funnels in a day or two. And I mean, like top of the line funnels. So, it's definitely been an interesting story.
So like a big transformation that I'm hearing is that like going from I can do it myself, like what is that saying? Like if you want to go fast, do it yourself. If you want to go far, go with people, something like that, right?
Exactly.
With this version of you and your agency, you want to go far, right?
Yeah.
And so you spent the time to like figure out what you're doing, how you're doing it, whiteboard, all that. And that's honestly like a total blind spot for me. Because I remember you and I talked like 6 to 8 months ago. You're like, Jeff, we need to do this for you because it worked for this guy. I'm like, that sounds great. Now what? And I don't even have the managerial understanding of how to delegate tasks because I'm still working and learning at the same time, right? Like I've had soap opera sequences in the works for like 7 months because I'm still trying to write my story as I'm doing it. Was that your journey too? Like you just had to work through it, or one day you said, screw it, you're in charge? Or what was that journey like when you went from doing it by yourself to doing it with people?
It was hard, because I wanted to do everything myself. Like I really wanted to. I like doing a lot of this stuff. I like the technical side of it. I enjoy it. But I was capped at, how many hours I can work a week and how much value I can like try to sell to people. And I didn't like that because it brought a lot of issues when we were working with customers. So, I mean, before I started this agency, I said, all right, how do I fix these pricing problems I've had for years? How do I get rid of scope creep, right?
So when you say pricing problem, you mean going from like 10K a month to 20K a month, 30K a month retainer?
Yeah, how do you control that scaling? Because it was hard. I've tried to do it before, and you get clients, you sign them up for value, and they want 100 times more, right?
Yep.
And then you get the clients that you can't get in touch with, and then you get the clients that are just nightmares. They're not paying their bills and things like this. And I kind of sat back and I looked at all these different problems and made solutions one by one for them.
Yep.
Before I even started the agency. I said, all right, well, scope creep, how do we fix that, right? Well, we tie a deliverable to what they get, and how do we make more money than just saying, all right, here's a $20,000 website build, and we're going to charge you ad spend. How do we keep them on long-term retainers? Well, instead of doing that, I said, all right, why don't we just tie hours to the retainers so they get a certain amount of hours in the retainers? There's no scope creep, and then we can keep our retainers and build recurring revenue. And every hour, I can sell that out for, I'll use example numbers, $100 an hour, and I can pay my guys 20 or 30.
That's called a blended rate, correct?
Exactly. So everybody in my agency goes under a blended rate.
Yeah.
And, we operate like an 80% margin. So, I mean, a lot of this model, I kind of figured out myself. So I did spend a lot of time on looking at the mistakes I had made over the past like 10 years and figuring out, how do I keep my clients happy? How do I keep them for a long time? And how do I provide them the best service? And a lot of it has to do with hiring the right people. Like our ad buyer makes like $30,000 or $35,000 a month because we pay him a percentage because he's so good.
Yeah.
So we've got really dynamic agreements with our employees, especially our top employees, to make sure that we can make them motivated and keep them on for a long time, because we invest a lot in training them.
So when you first got started out way back in the day, when you're doing like value packs or coupon books and like starting your agency, when you were asking for money retainers, was that like the $1,000 to $2,000 a mark, something like that, right?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, like I think it depended on the size, so if they had like a little spot on the page, it might be like $2.99, but if they had a full page, it might be like $18.99.
Gotcha.
And then we'd like bundle upsells, website services, graphic design and text message advertising. So, I mean, we could really pump those retainers up.
Gotcha.
And that's big with anything attaching upsells.
So the reason why I'm asking is because the weird part is like when I charge more, my clients leave me alone for more often. And I don't get it. Like,
can you say that?
Like the more I charge my clients, the more that they leave me alone to do my job. Like the low paying clients want a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. They're always asking all these questions, they're always dicking around with it. Are you experiencing the same exact thing? Like looking back, like the 1 to 2K clients versus your 20, 30K client? Is there like a cultural difference or something like that? Like what's the difference between a 2K client and a $20,000 a month deal? You know what I mean?
I mean, in general, what we like to say, especially to our salespeople, because we're building a sales team now, is a 10K client is the same effort as a 2,500 in terms of a retainer. So 10K a month versus 2,500, and a 10K client is the same as 100K. And the reason is because, especially when you're on the lower end, or you're sub like 5,000 a month. For most people, that money is very important for them, unless they're running a business that's doing, $10+ million a year. It's a big loss for them. So they want to be involved in the process. They want to push it forward. The communication itself between you and them, explaining everything, going through all these different things, and them kind of trying to jump in and tell you how to do your job for like graphics and like ads and stuff like that. It slows the process down. And it doesn't necessarily lead to a better result in most cases. So, I mean, that's pretty much what we tell a lot of people, our sales team, and in general, is like, go for the bigger sale, and let's try to be an agency that has $10,000 a month clients versus $1,000 a month. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. Like when I think of scale, I think of fewer clients paying me a lot more money. Like I'd much rather have 2 or 3 clients paying me 10 or 20, 30,000 a month than 210 clients paying 1,000 a month. Like just the enormity of me trying to understand that just keeping up with the conversation at 200+ clients is not acceptable, right? But I can do that with 3, 4, or 5, maybe even 6, right? Like be intimately involved in their business. But something that was in the bullet points I thought was really like interesting is you figured out how to build campaigns that are profitable, whether you're spending 5, 6, or 7 figures a month, right? And that blows my mind. And this may be beyond everybody who's watching this right now, because like you don't know how big of a deal Anthony is. Like he has never been to like self-promote or self-publicize. Like this is like the most public I think you've ever been ever, right? So it blows my mind to hear like those numbers, but you've got like 3 secrets to building profitable campaigns, right? So like, what do those campaigns look like? What are your secrets? How do you make sure things are profitable while just putting more money into Facebook and having more money drop into your bank account, which is like kind of the dream, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I wrote this down so I can go through them right. So, I mean, delegation is the biggest thing. Like when I was working alone, I could do one campaign really, really well, and I could keep that consistency. But delegating and hiring the right people, like I try to get the best for everything in my agency. I try to get pixel perfect designers and videographers that have great videography and social media guys. So, maintaining high quality is big. Like you can go out and kind of just launch things and you can make money with them, but I'm talking about sustainable campaigns, or
like avoiding that 3-month drop, right?
Exactly. Like we've created campaigns that have ran, 3, 4 years. So it's all about, delegating, bringing those right people into the team, training them. You can do it yourself, and there's definitely a process for that. Building these internal processes, because making sure that everybody's very clear on what they need to do is critical in these projects, because they can go off the rails very, very easily. If everybody doesn't know exactly what needs to be done and how it needs to be done, there's a huge chance you're going to fail that project. And the end result, because you failed internally, is going to be they don't make money.
I think that's like really important. Like failing internally is usually causing like failure externally. Like when you look at people who go to the gym and they're just gaining weight and they're not seeing results, it's usually not because of their gym time. It's usually because of something outside of the gym, right? And so what I'm hearing from you is the reason why your campaigns are failing is because of something that you're not doing internally or you're accidentally doing internally. Like you don't have somebody devoted to looking at your ads, right? Like you're not doing something structure or process driven. Is that about right?
Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, like we've got really clear organization. So we've got a task manager that tracks all our retainers, and we can give our clients real-time access into the hours. And every employee has to go in there and log that hour in when they work, or they don't get paid. So there's a process to how they even log their time. When they log that time, comes in obviously 5x more. But everything inside that system is predefined. So like when we launch a project, we have templates with all the tasks that need to be done, down to like installing Google Analytics, so like we've actually sat down and put together project plans based off our success. So we've kind of cataloged what worked and recreated those into projects so we can do them again for other people. And that includes every step along the way, how it should go through our team, who should get it in what order, and so on.
Interesting. So every time you've done, I think there's like a feedback or something in the, is there like a, do you hear feedback at all or no? No, right?
I think it might be my computer fan. I do hear it, but it's very light for me. Is it loud for you?
No, we're good. Let me just do this. So I guess my question is so what I'm hearing is that you'll finish a project. Will you then go back and then create the videos and the templates and the processes from that? Or are you doing it like proactively? Or how do you handle that?
No, we record our results. So we have project managers, and part of their job is like a post-op write-up. It's like after we consider the campaign, they have to write how much money did we spend, how many hours did they spend to hire us, and what did they pay, how much money did they make, and where did they come from, and then how did you actually do it? So they have to map it out in Funalytics, like visually, and keep like a whole write-up. Eventually, we're going to actually make those into a book. We're going to anonymize them and like sell them. But that's like a 2-year project now. But so I mean, processes are huge. The last thing is hire good advertisers, because you can, and I should say that part of those processes is every time we do something, we always look to model something else, and that's where we start. But if nothing else exists, we build our own strategy. So remember, there's not a method for everything. Like, I know everybody's like going out there and they want to buy all these courses, and they figure if they buy these courses, they're going to learn how to run their business. But starting, I never bought a course. I taught myself everything. A lot of the strategies we deployed, I just went out and tried them. And did they work? Yes. Did they not work? Okay, we won't do that again, because that doesn't work. And we keep track of that stuff too. The last thing is to hire good advertisers, though. And that goes back to what I said. My advertiser makes a ton of money, because the number one thing about running these campaigns is getting good traffic.
Yep.
And if you're trying to spend your time trying to run a Facebook ad, which is super time intensive, and instead of trying to run your business, and trying to keep all those pieces together, this is for a business owner or an agency owner, you're really not going to be using the best of your abilities across the board. So, learn Facebook ads so you know how they work and you know how to hire people for them, but bring in good advertisers for Facebook and Google if you're going to run campaigns for yourself or your clients.
So when you say hire a good advertiser, that's like a media buyer or somebody that knows Facebook better than you or something like that, right?
Exactly.
So what's like the going rate for a medium to good Facebook ads buyer? Is that like $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month? How does that relationship or contract look and work?
So for us, we pay percentage. I'm not going to go into the percentages that we pay, but I can give you some base rates. So, typically the going rate for buying ads is based off how much is spent. So that could range anywhere from 10 to 25%. And that's what the client will usually pay you. And usually you'll want to have a minimum in place to actually get an ad buyer started. So like, no matter what, you're going to pay us $2,000 a month. And then once you go over whatever that percentage of the ad spend breaches that number, then you pay with the percent. In terms of hiring ad buyers, the best ad buyers I've had, I paid by a percentage, which can range anywhere from 4% to 10%, depending on how good they are and what they want to make. So you have to structure your pricing where there's a margin there for you, big enough that it makes sense. And at that point, for us, we're building great funnels, and we've got copywriters doing emails, and we pass those off to the ad buyers, and then they bring in a campaign that spends $2-3 million over a year. Guess what? We made like 8% of that, and we didn't do really that much at all.
Yeah, because once it works, it's just making sure that it keeps working.
Exactly, it's maintenance, and that's what our retainers come in for. So I would say get good advertisers and find people. Advertisers are different. Like, the advertisers that we use are very different than like what a local agency advertiser would hire, because our guys have to know how to scale things really fast and manage 10K plus a day campaigns.
That's crazy. $10,000. That, you mean like I can't get the same results for the $5 a day Facebook recommends? Like,
yeah. So I mean, we've got quite a few accounts running like that right now, and it's a different type of ad buyer. So if you're going to be doing like an influencer or like a high direct response campaign, you're looking for a very specific type of advertiser. If you're doing local business, you're looking for a specific type of advertiser. And for local businesses, there's certain ad buyers you can possibly negotiate deals with, where maybe you pay them by the project. Like, I know people that pay $100 per project to ad buyers, and they'll send an ad buyer 50 or 100 projects, so we're still making money. It just kind of depends on the structure of your business, but go out and find the best in your industry. Like, we're in like the ad leaks group and all these like Facebook ad buyers group and pretty much all of the groups. And when we need to hire, we go through there and look at the people that are posting value, and we know Facebook ads enough to know if what they're saying makes sense or they're bullshit.
Yeah.
So those are pretty much the secrets to consistency.
Let me ask you this. So you are actively looking for like your best types of deals are digital products. Is that correct?
Generally, we do a lot of event marketing now too, and we do some software marketing as well, like SaaSes, things like that. So we're really not niche into what type of business you are or like what industry you're in.
Yeah.
More related to how much money you're making and how
There
much
we go.
online.
Yeah.
So if
So
you're
like,
over 10 million a year, you want to work with us.
gotcha. So you've built an entire agency specifically around the problems that 10 million plus dollar influencers and companies have, correct?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, we've got like a complete opposite to what most people do because like most people are like, all right, bring in like 20 plumbers at 500 a month or 1,000
yep.
a month. And you're going to make 10 or 20,000 a month. I mean, we bring in one client that pays us 10,000 a month.
I remember like we were chatting yesterday, like, Jeff, I need to hang up right now. I need to like make an extra 10K real fast. I'm like, that blows my mind. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, well, it's allowed us to really scale really quickly. But I mean, you can do it with anything. I mean, I did consulting for an agency that was doing $40 million a year. And they had 5,000 clients that were all paying them like $2,000 a month. They brought me on at like $1,000 an hour because they didn't know how to do email automation. They didn't know what a pixel was. Their job was really to provide really generalized marketing services for local businesses. So, I mean, you don't have to do it 10K a month retainers. I've seen guys build huge businesses on local, but you have to charge what you're worth. For the longest time, I didn't do that. And now I know that I have to, and my business works. You know, I'm not killing myself to make money. I'm working like a normal person now.
I think that's the most interesting sentence like I've heard in an interview in a long time, which is working like a normal person. Because like our lives are here. That means work is here, play is here. When we're not in front of here, we're disconnected, right? But that's not normal for human beings, right? Like it's totally okay to have an expectation of saying, I'm going to work really, really hard for 8-10 hours a day and then not. Like you don't have to be thoroughly connected all the time. The mistake is that working those 8 to 10 hours a day on stuff that doesn't pay you a lot of money. You have to work those 8 to 10 hours a day on stuff that is going to pay you a lot of money, right? And very often that means saying no to $250, $100, $250 a month accounts that aren't really accounts, right? Those are one-time jobs that you should be doing in the first place.
I mean, look, we took a project on the other day. I think it was like 5,000 a month or something. I'm not going to get too into the details, but essentially there was other parties working in that project and it was super tight deadline. It was something that was happening very soon that we had to promote. And it came to the point where we went to them and they're like, look, I think we should back out on this one. So we do fire clients. We actually resolved it, but we fire clients if we get somebody that we feel is not at their they don't have the runway to actually hire us and afford us. Like if they hire us, they're going to go out of business if it doesn't work, right?
So that's what happens all the effing time. Like I don't like Dan Locke. I'm not a fan of it, but he said one thing that really stood out to me, which is like, I don't take on losers that lose. I take on winners that win. Like that's a fundamental mistake I think most people make when it comes to starting or growing their agency.
Well, you feel bad for people, you know, you're like, you, especially when you're starting, you know, like somebody comes in and they're like, I really just need to make money online and I'll pay you like, you know, $1,000 or whatever. And it's hard to say no, you know, because you don't want to be a bad person. I won't use a curse word, but, and you have to train yourself to not do that. You have to remember that your time is worth just as much as any other business professional, doctors, lawyers, whatever it is, you know, especially these people. I talked to somebody the other day and they said, well, I've got $120,000 a year job and I spent $100,000 on coaching, but I don't want to charge people. I said, why not? You have a $200,000 education, you know, like you have a real education just like anybody else. You need to make that money up somehow, don't you? You know, pay off your debt. You know, so you just have to remember that it's not your job to help the world. You know, it's your job to provide for your family. That's what motivates me most. It's your job, build your business. It's not your job to help other people save theirs.
Yep, I like that. It's your
Yeah.
job to build your business, not help other people save theirs.
Yeah.
So looking back, right? Looking back at say that like the Frank Kern campaign or other like huge influencers that you worked on, what I'm thinking in my head is it's like super easy to measure all that. Like you install the pixel correctly, you check out all that fun stuff. But I remember you tested something different that you were telling me to try, and then I just like dropped the ball. It was called like a deadline funnel. Is that correct? Can we talk about that at all? Like how that works?
Yeah. So we do a lot of really, really complex strategies. With that specific campaign, what we were doing, it's really cool, is we'd bring somebody to like a VSL, we'd opt them in. When they opted in, we'd put them into a sales funnel and then put them into like a pipeline so a sales team could reach out to them. Now, after that, they went into the email sequence or the sales sequence, and say after one day, we'd send them out an email with a deadline funnel, which is a timer embedded right in the email, and that timer will then show up on the page with the same exact time.
Yeah.
And not only that, we were showing ads at the same exact time with the same message with the time. It wasn't a dynamic timer. We were saying you have 1 day to get this discount with the video saying, hey, if you buy today, you're going to get this bonus. And then when that stopped, we'd wait a day or two, start another timer, add two bonuses, send them some emails, and show them matching Facebook ads. And we'd stop. And you remember the video, I was like breathing over it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's so funny. Like it's hilarious. Like once you have like a really strong infrastructure, like shit works even if your ad isn't perfect. And I think that's a mistake most people make because like they think your ad has to be perfect. It's not. It's your back end stuff. Like, are you doing the follow up and all that? And that's like something that we're learning inside the inner circle. But I remember being targeted. I was like, who's breathing on that camera? Like,
well, look, I mean, I told Frank, look, let's reshoot this. I was breathing that. I just got one of those, the gyro cameras. I don't know what they're called, the DJI. And it was the first time I used it. And I didn't realize if I held it close to me, it was going to pick me up breathing. So I shot a phenomenal video of Frank, and it was just awesome. It was perfect. And then like when I actually got it into the computer, I hear like, sounds like an emphysema or something. And I'm like,
you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. But he said to me, look, run it. It's going to work. And I said, no, we got to reshoot. He said, no, like just run it. We ran it. It worked really, really well. We spent 5 figures on it and made like mid 6 figures. I don't want to get through a number. Yeah.
That's absolutely nuts.
8x.
Holy crap. Like these numbers get so effing big. That's insane.
That was just retargeting too. That was just a retargeting ad. It wasn't a cold traffic for a high ticket product. We were doing some cold to the funnel, but there's some really, really cool stuff you can do. But, in the end, analytics is huge because you have to track this stuff, not only to tell your clients if it's working, but so you can go back and tell people how much money you made people, So part of our pitch is, we've made probably over $1 billion at this point online.
That's insane. With a B, right?
Yeah.
That's absolutely nuts. So you've worked with huge influencers, you've worked with course creators, you've worked with $10 million plus software as a service companies.
Yeah.
You don't do local lead gen simply because they cannot afford you, correct?
We've done
pretty rare.
It's very rare. If somebody can't afford us, we'll consider it. But it's just, we like to be able to like say, look, we spent this and we made you like all this money, and with lawyers, it's hard to do. But
it's very clean when you have your Pixelfires. Every time somebody buys a $10,000 course, you can very clearly say you made $120,000 for them in 3 days, right?
Exactly. I mean, we do some companies that have phone sale processes, and then we'll set offline data up so we can track the phone sales back to Facebook. And we do some really cool stuff with that. Not a lot of people actually do that, but in general, we try to stay away from local businesses just because the money's not there for us. I mean, like you said, I don't want to build a business of 5,000 small clients. I want to build a business of 100 really big ones.
That's fantastic. Are you up for a couple strategy sessions and like 15 minutes on the phone with you or a group Zoom call or something like that? Fantastic. So guys, if you want to see behind the scenes of how Anthony does what he does, have a further conversation and get like the one-on-one conversation that you feel you need, to give yourself permission to start charging $5, $10, or even $20,000 a month, just hashtag Anthony my face. And I'll connect 3 people that hashtag that with Anthony. You guys can have a group call or one-on-one and stuff like that. I've seen the behind the scenes of what Anthony does, and it is right on the edge of my understanding. Like when I saw it, I was like, all right, this guy's like a NASA space scientist. Like there's no way I can like thoroughly get what he's doing. But like he has too many tabs. He makes an F ton of money, and he's always helping his clients make more money and is more than happy to give back. So like if that's up your alley, just hashtag Anthony my face. I do want to say that we've got a couple questions, and we still have about 7 minutes left. So if it's kosher, we can go into that. And guys, so if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. We have Daxi who's watching and saying like, is Snapchat still working for you? How's that turning out? Is this also something you're pursuing?
Yeah, so we tried to do a Snapchat course last year. Basically, we did like a pre-sale on it, and when we went to launch it, we went to Snapchat and we said, hey, this is what we're doing. These are our lead opt-ins. This is our course. And they said, all right, this looks good. This is like as we were building it.
Like
and when
Snapchat, the company.
Yeah, because we had a rep there. You know, like we have a case study on Snapchat.com on their business page. And we're one of the biggest advertisers at one point. Essentially, we pretty much got everything finished. We were super late with it. It took me a long time. And they came back and they sent me a cease and desist. And they're like, you got our name in your website. You're using our logo in your videos and Snapchat interface. You got to pull everything yellow out of your website, everything yellow out of your course, all the Snapchat logos. You got to get rid of your domain. And I'm like, you guys approve this stuff. So I don't know if I can even get into it, but essentially they shut me down, which was really sad because I brought them a lot of people and we like pulled all our spend from them. So we don't do a lot. We've started testing it again, but we pulled pretty much all of our spend from them.
Interesting. Isaiah says, what did you use for the deadline timer? I think the answer is Deadline Funnels, right?
Deadlinefunnels.com. Yeah.
Gotcha. Donald says, what should your minimum profit margin and markup be? I don't know like what he's hinting at, but maybe you have an idea.
I do. So, you know, we have deliverables attached to our services, which is they get a fixed amount of hours. Now, if they don't use those hours, they still pay. If they go over, they pay at the blended hourly rate. So if we go in and say you're on a $5,000 a month retainer or $10,000 a month retainer, we'll work with them to fill that retainer up. We'll do their social media, we'll do videos, we'll do Facebook, we'll do all this other stuff. The Facebook ads is separate. So managing the ads themselves, there's also an ad spend fee on top of that. But for our general services, we're a full service agency. We do everything, like literally everything. It's like crazy how much stuff we do now. But we try to operate at 80% margin.
That's fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that. Like,
yeah.
Like now, most people don't realize like your margin is the only thing. It's not the only thing, but it's like that's your blood, that's your breathing. Like if you don't have a huge margin, you are gonna be struggling your whole effing life. And being able to say like, I do my own ads is really like your workaround by saying like, I don't know my margins. You shouldn't be treating it that way. Like you should really be saying like, if I were to hire a separate Facebook ads guy, how much should they be charging me? And that's your margin. You're hiring yourself to do your own ads. And you need to be operating at a 50 to 80%. Otherwise, you are going to be stressed out, freaking out, and not be in a position to actually grow. But go on.
I mean, look, I make a big salary. I've got a partner that makes a big salary, you know, so we're more than profitable. I mean, on our build hours, you know, our copywriters and some of our higher value employees are definitely not 20 an hour. They're higher, but it's a blended rate. So we try to keep everything average between 20 and 30, which keeps us at like 70 to 80% margin.
I think it's so cool that somebody like me can go up to you and say, hey, I promise to spend $5,000 a month with you. We just have to have a conversation about allocating it, right? Because if I'm going in and saying, hey, I really, really suck at emails. I need you to solve that problem. We allocate the 5 to the emails. It turns out, hey, I really suck at funnels, allocate it to the funnels. Like that's how you built your agency, correct?
Exactly. And the cool thing is it doesn't take a lot of time. So like if you come to us and you're like, I need us to do social media, like you have a lot of social media. So I shouldn't use you as an example. But for most companies, that's like 10 or 20 hours a month. And we can post like custom made videos like every day. If they want us to do funnels, it takes us like 10 to 20 hours to build a top of the line funnel with email copy and like a 2-week email automation behind it, all the logic built into it and tags and like tracking, stuff like that. So we've been able to provide a ton of value for our customers. Like at the end of the month, they get an invoice line by line with the hours of every single thing that they were done, that our employees did, who did it, and what it was. So we try to keep really, really organized with this, and we can track our utilization and margin right through that system.
And that makes them feel much happier about paying. Like, it's not like this black box of unknown of like, I guess I'm writing them a check. It's like very clearly, this is what we did.
This is what you got. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they don't use it, and they're a little under, they'll get charged a little bit of like an upsell fee, like if they're $1,000 under because they disappeared for 2 weeks and we couldn't fill the retainer. Sometimes I get a little upset about that, but it's a cost of reserving our time because I have to keep resources there to actually fill that order for them if they want it. You know what I mean?
I love that philosophy. Like, I don't get to fire somebody because you didn't show up to work for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Like, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We have 2 really good questions, and I think we'll bring this to an end. This has been a great interview, by the way. Absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
Angel says, what's the number one tool you're using to grow your business?
So my answer is probably going to be different than what anybody else. I mean, there might be a few people here that would do this, but for us, it's our project management tool. We use a tool called Excello. It's like NetSuite. It's super hard to use, and I don't recommend it for anyone unless they want to pay like $5,000 in training and spend 3 or 4 months to learn maybe 10% of what it does. But that's what tracks our utilization, our hours, and manages our projects. For most people, I'd recommend getting something like Harpoon app, which is super easy, super visual. It has really visual goal tracking for like your revenue. So it's got like a big visual chart that says, right, this is where you are, this is where you're projected to be. And keeping on top of that and making sure every month you grow faster than the clients you lose is critical. So really just having visibility on the different metrics that are important to us, our utilization, letting our clients see their hours in real time, having a customer portal for them. It's been huge for us to keep clients longer because there's so much transparency here. When we onboard somebody, it's like, hey, you get to see everything we've done. You only pay for what's done, or not only pay for what's done, but you get, fixed allocation. Our team can log the hours there. It automatically goes to the retainer. The retainer automatically bills out. We can see who's working. We can see our profit margin. So we have a project that's not profitable. What tasks do we have? What sales are in the pipeline, and so on.
That's crazy. I feel like, by the way, like the way you're talking, like I'm talking to somebody that's going to be doing like 10, 20, $30 million this year. Like the way you're structuring your thoughts and like the infrastructure, like you just put more money in, like you got the bones built, just put muscle on the machine, right?
Yeah. We spent a lot of time building this company at scale. I want to bring this to at least $1 million a month in billables by the end of next year. And I think I can do it. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Super happy for you. Last question is from Ryan. Ryan says, what marketing automation tools do you use?
Good question. So the marketing automation tools that we use vary based off the customer need. So in general, we use either Drip, Entreport, or ActiveCampaign. We run into Infusionsoft a lot. I particularly don't like Infusionsoft because it has very low scale limits, which means that some of these marketing automation platforms can't handle how much money or how many clients we make.
Really?
So like ActiveCampaign caps out like 1 million contacts, and that's a problem for us. Infusionsoft caps out like 500 to 1 million. That's a big problem for us, So like they start to break down. Like it takes like forever to send emails. Things stop working. So it really depends on, do we expect to bring this client to like X revenue inside their revenue tracking? Because these systems actually track revenue and email info, which is huge for automation, is tracking the user behavior. I mean, everything we do is around like behavioral intent, like mapping, like if this, then that, if they buy. So making sure we have all that data in the marketing automation platform is huge. And the only platforms that do that well are those three, possibly four. Infusionsoft does it well. It can't handle most of our clients to where we're going to bring them or where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd recommend Drip or ActiveCampaign for most people.
So what I'm hearing is that like you are trying to build a marketing journey that reflects a human being's real life journey. Like when you see an ad that says 15 minutes left, it's going to be 15 minutes, whether it's the ad, whether it's you refresh, whether you see it again and again, right? If you click on an email and you read it, the next email will be appropriate based upon what you stuff. It's not like just broadcasting.
If they clicked it, if they didn't click it. So if they didn't click it, we might branch them out into a different email sequence.
Right.
If they did, they might go somewhere else. They might see ads as a result of opening that match the message of that email.
Yeah.
So, we really go deep in that stuff.
Let me name the people, all the stuff. We've got Paula, Ryan, and John Carmichael. I'm going to intro the three of you to Anthony over the weekend. You guys can figure out a time and all that stuff. Anthony, it's been absolutely fantastic. I don't think anyone watching really understands this. Like a year from now, you're going to come back on and be like, guys, I just sold my company for like $45 million. Like I fucking told you I was going to do it. Like that's the type of person you are. And
it's funny. I told my grandfather back in, I think it was October. I said, I'm going to make $1 million this year with a new business I'm going to open. And I called him up and I'm like, hey, I did it, Grandpa. Like about 2 weeks ago, I told you I've already surpassed what I need to make $1 million a year. He's like, I'm so proud of you, kid.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that's what I want to do is eventually I do want to sell the agency for like 40 or 50 million and then go do some other stuff. I'll never stop working.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to bring this to a close. Don't hang up. We're going to offboard real fast. But yeah, Anthony, absolute pleasure chatting with you. For everybody watching, look out for the PMs. And that's it. Go kick ass, take some names. It's Thursday. See you guys later.